Yo, what is up everyone? This is OJ over here from PlayerEssence.com and welcome to another PE discussion video that I have for you guys. And today we're going to be talking about a fantastic post and a question that I posed for you guys that was over on GoNintendo. I have to give credit to RMC, the owner of GoNintendo, and his end of day post just for this video, and it made me think, and I wanted to talk about this myself and read what he had to say because I think it was a fantastic write-up for his users and for all Nintendo fans to really talk about and address, so at least Nintendo can see some of this stuff and possibly even take some ideas from what we say, given feedback. So let's go ahead and let's talk about the topic here. How does Nintendo woo the average gamer? I'm going to go ahead and get right into what RMC had to say. So quotations from his site. Nintendo is in a very interesting predicament. The company knows how to navigate times when their hardware/software isn't selling like crazy, but they're always planning to make the next piece of hardware into something that brings in huge success. I mean, that's always the plan for the big end. Sometimes hardware hits and catches fire with fans. Sometimes it just lands with a thud and doesn't move the needle. Sadly, that's how things are with the Wii U right now. Nintendo needs to turn things around with their next hardware. We're in a unique time when portable game device sales are being impacted by smartphone/tablets. We're also in a time where your average gamer doesn't think too much about Nintendo when looking for their next home console. This is a mentality that Nintendo has to change on both fronts. How they're going to achieve that is beyond me. Thankfully, I'm not in a position where I have to figure those things out. A big bit of trouble came from the Wii. It's true the platform was an absolute huge success, but it also made your average gamer feel a certain way about Nintendo. Those gamers that look toward Xbox One and PS4 for their games simply don't look at Wii U the same way. They look at Wii U as another Wii. That was a platform that, to them, provided casual experiences with inferior graphics and wonky controls. I obviously disagree with that, but unfortunately, that's the way things are. Nintendo is a victim of their own success here, finding that the casual Wii owner has moved on from gaming on consoles and that the traditional gamer is getting their needs met somewhere else. What does Nintendo do with the NX to woo back those gamers? Is it something that can even happen? Is there a way to get a large chunk of traditional gamers to drop their ill-conceived notions of Nintendo? There are obviously multiple things that need to happen in order to entice those gamers. Everything needs to come together in a perfect package, and even then, it'll take years to slowly change that perception. It's really a tough position for Nintendo to be in, but as we've seen multiple times in the past, the big end is up to that challenge. What do you think Nintendo needs to do in order to turn those traditional gamers Nintendo's way? Are there a few key points that Nintendo needs to do to drive home in order to have a fighting chance? Leave a comment and let us know what you think. So definitely check out the post on GoNintendo and comment on there, interact with that community. But I'd also like to talk about that myself because I've been talking about this for quite some time now, in a few years. And what I love most about this post is that he doesn't blame marketing. He doesn't blame other things like, oh, fanboys or trolls. RMC tells it exactly how it is. Yes, those things have a little bit to do with it, but the main thing is Nintendo themselves. They have to think from within, and he blames the Wii basically. He says that this is the perception that was cast upon from the Wii to the Wii U because the Wii did have inferior graphics. That's a fact. The Wii did have a different control scheme that not all people liked, and Nintendo went out of their way sometimes to not offer a regular control scheme or offer a regular controller in the package for the Wii. You had to buy it separately, and even if you did buy a separate controller, some games just didn't offer normal controls, even though it might have been better controlling it with a normal controller. A perfect example of that is Donkey Kong Country Returns, where you have to shake the controller just to do rolls and stuff like that, which would just be nice to be able just to press a button, especially for a classic game like that. So that's on Nintendo for putting that perception in people's mind. Now, they fixed that with the Wii U, but the damage was already done over the 6 years that the Wii was active. Many of Nintendo's first-party games did only have motion controls only and was not HD, which it was hard for people who did like HD graphics and who had nice HD TVs to look at Nintendo's games seriously because they just look so bad. Some of them, at least, look so bad on a big TV. Twilight Princess, I'm looking at you. I think that Nintendo, in order to change this mindset, they really need to start offering what the the other companies offer, but doing it in a way that Nintendo is always known for, doing it in a cool way, doing it in a different way. I think it starts with the system itself. It needs to have the feature set. The feature set needs to be there. Most casual gamers, if they want to just talk with their friend, they should be allowed to talk with their friend at any point, anytime. Plain and simple. There should be no restrictions. There should be no bounds. There should be saying, no, well, people get upset because when you talk bad to them, there's a mute button for that, guys. Okay? So Nintendo needs to make sure that they offer everything as far as the freedom goes as Microsoft and Sony offer. So it starts with voice chat on the system, peer-to-peer system wide. It also starts with party chat. A lot of people like to party up with their friends and go into matches. So voice chat, party chat from a system-wide level is going to be very important. The next thing I think is that achievements and trophies. A lot of casual gamers do like to collect achievements and trophies in the games that they really like. So I definitely think Nintendo needs to incorporate their own achievements and trophy type system, because for a lot of people that builds loyalty to a platform to increase their score. And for those who are saying, oh, well, I don't care about that. Well, it's just like the high scores that people used to care about back in the day. You used to play a game to get a high score. All achievements and trophies are just different. They're just an evolution of getting the high score in a game. There's nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing wrong with comparing with your friends or having a little bit of competition. It's just another thing to do that makes gaming good. And if you don't like it, you can ignore it. But definitely not having it in there just for the sake of it's not because I don't like it is not a reason to not have it. So I definitely think that having achievements and trophies is something that Nintendo needs to do from a universal system-wide level. And face it, Nintendo already has achievements and trophies in many of their games. Why not just make it official and make it a universal level, which they've already patented on doing that. We've covered voice chat, we've covered party chat, we've covered achievements and trophies, and the next thing that I want to cover is speed, system, AI, and messaging. Miiverse is great, but the problem with Miiverse is that it was not integrated in a way that a lot of people found functional or at least easy to use. The friends list, there was two separate friends lists, one on your actual Wii U OS and another one on the Miiverse. That is very confusing considering you can't send messages or really do anything from your in-dash friends list. That's a problem. So Nintendo needs to clean up their friends list. They need to make it just one place. If Miiverse is going to be that place, it needs to be integrated with the dashboard to where you can access things quickly. You shouldn't have to boot up a loading screen just to get to your own messages. Microsoft and Sony don't do that. Casual gamers don't want to see that, how you have to go into something completely else just to send a message. And what if the person responds back to you? You have to continue going in and out of a Miiverse message board. That is way too slow. Nintendo needs to find a way to speed that up along with the actual OS, because the Wii U OS was so slow. So they need to make sure that they speed that up. The system needs to be a little bit more beefy when it comes to RAM, when it comes to the speed, just so they can get that stuff done a lot faster. I also think offering some of the apps and some of the other things that Microsoft and Sony offer are going to be good. The game DVRs that they have, the capture card devices, basically to where you can stream straight to Twitch or to your YouTube. Nintendo had some good things going with some of the stuff that they've done with Smash Bros, with Mario Kart, but that's only with some of their games. You should be able to do that with everything. It shouldn't be a problem. And it's so popular now for people to have their own YouTube channels and for people to have their own Twitch channels to stream. If you don't have that, that's a big problem. Twitch is huge and a lot of people love to do that, and having something to where you can broadcast straight from your console is a big deal for a lot of people. So including those type of apps into your system are going to be very good. That's going to be something that's going to get you up to speed with the casual gamers. I also think that the next system definitely needs to be powerful. It definitely needs to be powerful. It can't be something to where it's below the PS4 and Xbox One. It needs to meet it, or it needs to be well above it, and it can't be under it in certain ranges. So for instance, like the Wii U, yes, it's powerful than the PS3 and Xbox 360, but based on the way the architecture is, there are some things, especially the CPU, that caused issues for some developers that weren't familiar or as familiar with the hardware. They need to make sure that every single spec on the next system is better than PS4 and Xbox One. It's better than it. It's obviously going to be better just because it's newer, but it can't be underneath it in someone and then say, oh, well, we compensate for that with something else. No, it needs to be better in every aspect, and it needs to have a hard drive. It can't have just 32 gigabytes, such a low amount, and say, oh, well, you go buy it, because then it turns a $300 purchase into a $400 or $500 purchase, because you have to go out and buy your own terabyte hard drive or bigger hard drive. For a lot of people, that's an issue. Some people that are hardcore Wii U owners still don't even have that extra hard drive, and they end up just deleting things and re-downloading things, and a lot of people don't want to do that. So making sure that you have that is going to be very important to get those gamers, because they want to see, okay, yeah, I get my 500 gigabyte hard drive, or I get my terabyte hard drive when I purchase this system. And lastly is definitely going to be third-party support. And when I say third-party support, I also say like that ties in with the architecture, making sure it's what third-party developers want to develop on. I think that's very important that Nintendo makes sure that they have big third-party developers on board, and not just the Call of Duties, not just the EAs with sports titles, not just those ones, the average and typical ones. It needs to be the hardcore third-party games. I've been talking with a lot of people in the comment section. There's one user in particular, I forgot his name, but we always talk about different things, and he's like, hey, well, Nintendo needs to make sure that they get CD Projekt Red and Bethesda on board. And I have to agree. While CD Projekt Red and Bethesda necessarily aren't the biggest publishers out there or developers out there, they make the hardcore games that sell a lot. They make the hardcore games, the ones with all the in-depth mechanics and systems, and the RPGs, the Elder Scrolls. They make the Witchers, they make Fallout. So Nintendo really needs to make sure that those games are on their system, because a lot of people buy those particular games, and if it doesn't have those games from Bethesda, if it doesn't have Doom, or if it doesn't have The Witcher, if it doesn't have Fallout, they're not buying a Nintendo system. So that's another thing Nintendo really needs to do. Look, that's a lot of stuff that I said, and I know it's an uphill battle, because Nintendo has been basically fighting against these type of things for a long time. With the Wii, online play was meh. Wii U online play was a little bit more than meh, but still kind of meh, just because of the restrictions Nintendo placed. And they need to throw that template out. The Wii template needs to go completely out. They need to think about modern features. They need to think about what the other systems do. How can we incorporate that? How can we put our own touch on that? And obviously, if they bring their games back, I think it's going to be something that really just sparks people to buy their system. But when I say they bring their games back, they need to bring their games back and reinvent them. I do think that Nintendo has a number of franchises that can be reinvented in such cool ways, but the RPGs and loot collecting, and I think specifically loot collecting, needs to be something that Nintendo really focuses on. Believe it or not, people love loot. Games like Borderlands, games like The Division, Tom Clancy's The Division, fastest selling Ubisoft title ever. Fastest selling Ubisoft title ever, and it only launched on 3 systems, guys. It didn't launch on PS3 and Xbox 360 like some of Ubisoft's other games like Watch Dogs and stuff like that did. It launched on PC, PS4, and Xbox One, and it's the fastest selling in the 24 hours. That's really good, because it's a loot collecting game. It's an open world game. You can play with your friends, open world missions, combat, all that stuff, co-op, multiplayer. Nintendo really needs to see what they can do to transition some of their successful franchises into a nice RPG loot collecting, and they need to have frequent releases of those. It can't just be, okay, well, we have one Xenoblade in 3 years. Oh, well, okay, Shin Megami Tensei, you have 2 in 4 years. It needs to be somewhat recent that they come out with these games. I definitely think Metroid can be a big candidate for this type of thing, because you can make the underground tunnels and the backtracking and things like that, some of that, but you can also add in the loot collecting and the RPG elements into that formula and make it look awesome. And I think it'd be really cool. Add in some of the hunters, like Metroid Prime Hunters goes, and you can have yourself a really cool co-op multiplayer fun game that I think that would appeal not only to Metroid fans if you did enough stuff, but also to expanded audience and also to the casual fans out there. So I think those are some of the things Nintendo needs to do. You can take Golden Sun and you can make that more of a core RPG. You can bring that out, make it have amazing graphics. I think people are going to get interested if they have it like that. It can also be like Final Fantasy-ish type. There's lots of stuff that they can do. There's lots of franchises that they have that they can reinvent and make look better, that they've held back. And I think RPGs have to be one of those that Nintendo really brings to the forefront, because RPGs are one of the most popular, if not the most popular franchise, and Nintendo just didn't do RPGs this generation on the consoles. So that's just my take on it. What do you guys think? I would love to hear your thoughts. Please put that in the comment section below. All right, so that basically wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much to RMC for this fantastic post. I really do appreciate it. And thank you to all of you guys who continue watching my content. I really do appreciate that as well. Make sure you hit that like button if you did like. Let me know you guys want more discussion videos like this going forward in the future. And also subscribe to PlayerEssence for more news, reviews, trailers, tips, and tricks. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys, and we will see you for the next video. Peace.